G'day, it's Heath here from pickinglessons.com. Amazing Grace, such a beautiful tune. In this banjo lesson, we're going to take a look at an arrangement that is using the chord melody style of playing. So we're supporting the melody of the tune with chords from the harmony of the key that we're in. And we're in the key of D. In a moment, we're going to take a look at some of the chords that we're using in this first variation. There are two variations in the arrangement. So we'll take a look at the chords that we need to set us up to play the first variation. And we'll do that in a moment. But if you head to pickinglessons.com, you'll be able to get yourself a copy of the chart that we're working from. Has all the tablature and the chords in there for both variations. You also have the next couple of lessons where we'll break down the actual melody and learn the tune as well. And you'll have a slow play along and backing track there to work with as well. So pickinglessons.com. Okay, let's start out here just by looking at the different chord versions that we're playing through the melody. So we have variations on a D, variations on a G, a B minor, and an A. So we need all those chords to sort of support the melody for this version. We are in standard tuning, so we're just standard G tuning. And we're playing in the key of D, so it does work well out of standard tuning. The first chord we're going to look at is a D, and the D that we're playing basically involves the open D fourth string, the second fret there, the A note on string 3, and the third fret there, the D on string 2. Throughout this arrangement in this first variation, I'm using my thumb to brush across the chords. Feel free to pinch. If it's a 3-note chord, if it's a 4-note chord, you likely need to brush it anyway. So you can try it either way, but I am brushing across those chords. So with this particular chord there, starting at the D, string 4, and finishing at string 2. And that's just with the thumb and just a little bit of an angle. Just drop that wrist down and point the pick slightly up. Will give you a nice tone and a brush across the strings without it being too harsh. I'm also up towards the neck of the banjo, so that will mellow the tone out as well. So that was our first position of the D. Now technically we don't have all the notes that we need to make it a D chord, but the next version does. So the next version of our D chord, we have 4 notes here. We've got our same starting point, the D, the A, the D, and this time we're going to include the F sharp, which is up on fret 4, string 1. Use your little finger, third finger's a bit of a stretch, little finger's a better choice there. And again, I'm going to brush across those notes starting at string 4. So that particular version of D is a complete D major chord. The first D variation where we stopped at the D note there doesn't have an F sharp, which takes out the important note for that major chord being the F sharp note in the major third. It's still okay, we can still include it in our thinking for the D major chord, but the F sharp actually completes it. Okay, so our first 2 D chords. And really, the reason we're choosing those in that order is based on the melody too. So it's all about supporting the melody. Let's move on. The next chord change we have up is a G. And in this G, we're just playing a regular G position triad here. So that's fret 5, the G, third finger. Second finger there on the B note. First finger on the D. Just the 3 strings to string 2. So we have an open D. We have the D with the F sharp on top. We have a G in this position here, 3, 2, and 1 with our fingers. Okay, let's move on. B minor's up next. Now this is an easy B minor triad we have here. So this B minor triad, we have the third finger on the B of string 3, fret 4. Second finger on the D there at fret 3 of string 2, and our little finger on fret 4 of string 1. There's the F sharp. So I'd suggest using these fingers as opposed to say 2, 1, and 3, just because of the melody we need to play around it. So 3, 2, and 4, just brushing gently across that B minor position. Up next we have the A. The A is the version of the chord up in root position there at fret 7. With this shape you're likely to already know. So we have our third finger there at fret 7, that's the A. Second finger there, there's the C sharp. First finger on the E, and our little finger on another A. So we're going to play all 4 strings up to that first string there. That's our melody note when we get to it. So there's the A position. Let's move on here. We've got another D position actually up next. So a D position with our barred third finger. So open D, third finger at fret 7. We're barring across 3, 2 and 1, those strings there, all at fret 7. Third finger is a wise choice to make. You could use a different finger, but again, in relation to the melody, that third finger is a nice choice. So we're going to brush across from string 4, completing that D chord. So we had a lower D, we've got this D up in fret 7, still the same combination of notes in our D chord. The term that we use to describe that is the inversion has changed, so it's a different inversion. The arrangement of the notes within the chord have just shuffled around. So our first D down the neck and then D up the neck here are two different inversions of those chords, both with our low D supporting it underneath though. All right, we've got a couple of chords just to finish this off. We have the B minor in a different way of playing it. So we have our B minor from earlier, the triad on those top 3 strings. The B minor in this next position, we're taking our F sharp that we had on string 1, we're actually going to move it to string 4 because they're both D strings, so there's an F sharp as well. And we end up with finger 3 on F sharp, string 4, fret 4, and the B on fret 4 of string 3 using your little finger. And our second finger on the D note there, the D on string 2, fret 3. Just brushing down to string 2 there. So there's our B minor, our second inversion of a B minor, different version of the chord. And just to finish off with one last triad, another version of D. This particular D chord is kind of where we started with the 3 strings, string 4, 3 and 2, but this time, instead of open D, we're actually putting an F sharp there on the 4th string. So we have F sharp, finger 3, fret 4, there's the A, there's the D. Brushing across those 3 strings, and again that completes out the D major chords. We have all 3 notes, D, A and F sharp, that make the chord. But this is a different inversion where we have the F sharp at the bottom of the chord there, which is nice. So there's another D, and that finishes off the first variation of the arrangement in terms of the chords we need. If you head to pickinglessons.com, we will continue this lesson by actually incorporating those chords with the melody through there as well. So picking out some extra notes from the chords, sometimes some passing notes to generate what we need for the melody. So those chords are definitely in there. So we're going to do that next. You'll also find the next lesson after that, which will include the up the neck version, using a bunch of triads that we're finding up the neck, much higher. It's quite interesting when we hear these chords played further up the neck. So that's something we're going to look at as well in that next variation. So pickinglessons.com, get these chords under your fingers, head over there and we'll continue on together.